I'm actually standing on part of the roof that came off of the church last night. You can see even right here, part of it is even sticking up. It's extremely heavy, so you can imagine just how strong these gusts of winds were. Just follow me here. You can see we're actually standing right in the middle of a bin. This bin is completely empty. There are two bins just like this one right here. There's about an inch of it, and it's already a sheet of ice. Before I was able to get a little bit of slush up, you can see now I can't do that at all, and that's really what this entire street is starting to look like. The entrance ramp, however, is going to be closed until about 6:30. What they had to do was lay some sand. I don't want to get too close to get in the way, but they had to lay some sand right here to absorb some of that mineral oil. Fans are blowing and water is still falling through the ceiling hours after a massive pipe burst at the building that houses Arnett Foster Toothman, the West Virginia Bankers Association, and Progressive Insurance.
Water started cascading down throughout the building and went through the second floor, the first floor, and down to our lower level.
Steve Roby is the presiding member of Arnett Foster and Toothman, an accounting firm in Charleston, and described the break as a catastrophic failure.
There's no need second guessing we should have done this or that. It's out of our hands.
The damage left behind is devastating. Joe Ellison is the president and CEO of the West Virginia Bankers Association and said it all started just before 5 yesterday.
Water came from everywhere and tiles started coming down, and we grabbed our computer server and took out the front door and were able to save a few things.
The damage on his second floor is extensive. Tiles are missing from the ceiling and water is puddled on the floor.
We cried a little bit, and then we realized that that's not the worst thing that can happen.
Roby and Ellison said their staff started pitching in as the water came rushing down, carrying valuables outside and covering desks. Today, that same staff is on hand, lending a hand and cleaning up.
We're an accounting firm, so we're going into a very busy period of time. He'll be fixed. Wish it hadn't happened.
This is not what Vicki Stanley wanted to wake up to Thursday morning.
It looked like a lake, and it was up to the no trespassing signs.
Several inches of water standing in her yard, her neighbor's yard, up against her motorcycle, storage unit, and brand new air conditioning unit.
I was in a bed asleep, and I heard a knock on the door, and the next door neighbor was coming in from work, and he woke me up to tell me that our yards were flooded.
Flooded because of this. A truck trying to pull into the Family Dollar hit a fire hydrant, busting a 6-inch line and sending hundreds of thousands of gallons of water down 99th Street and into these yards. It took crews 3 hours to get the water shut off, but by then, the damage was done. We want to give you an idea of just how much water was in between these trailers. If you take a look right here, you can see there's actually a water line left behind. It's about a foot off the ground, so a lot of water came down here. If you take a look over on this side, you can see it's also around this air conditioning unit. Again, about a foot off the ground. This unit, brand new, $4,000. The owner said it is now destroyed. This area has flooded before. In fact, a busted water main sent water down 99th Street in February. This time, the damage much worse. Stanley said she didn't have insurance on her motorcycle and can't afford a new heat pump.
It's very frustrating because, you know, I struggle every day anyway. I've got 3 rooms in the storage building, so I know that pretty much it's all going to have to go in the garbage.
Empty bins of salt are not a good sign in Charleston, and it has city leaders on edge.
Everybody likes that nice, comfortable, warm feeling, and we're not getting it right now. We don't have enough salt on the ground that we'd like to have.
The city only has about 1,800 tons of salt left. We only saw an inch or two of snow here in Charleston this morning, but city crews use between 500 and 700 tons of salt to treat city streets. Getting more salt in hasn't been easy.
I just placed an order yesterday for 4,000 ton. They told me 2 to 3 weeks on it. So, you know, what we got is what we got for right now.
The State Department of Highways is also seeing a salt shortage. This district here in Charleston treats 210 miles of state highways from Dunbar to the Turnpike and up to Elkview. This morning they used at least 50 tons of salt. This winter has been brutal and demand for salt has been high up and down the East Coast.
Now, the last bay that we're in right now is salt that actually we had about 2 years ago that we didn't use. We hadn't used because of the mild winters we've had up to this.
Even though March is just days away and spring is just around the corner, the city isn't holding its breath that this will be the last of winter we'll see or the salt they'll use.